Economic International Trade Commission, Economic International Arbitration Commission. And so we have, in this same year, started a new initiative in trying to be at the forefront of the transformative peace building initiative, promoting transformative peace at the grassroots level, particularly in the northeast and the northwest of Nigeria. This is actually a new initiative we have started. We have seen that so far the approach of the government in trying to tackle the insurgency and insecurity in the northwest and in the northern part of Nigeria has not yielded a lot of fruit. And so in partnership with NICArb, we've started this initiative of peace building, training community leaders, as well as legal officers and non-profit organizations to see how they can come together to brokerage peace within the communities. The first training we did was in Benue State. And outside of that, we have also, in same partnership with UNHCR as well as other key stakeholders, continue to promote arbitration and ADR. Like you know, arbitration and ADR is a non-traditional dispute resolution mechanism outside the court system that we are all familiar with. And we believe that if we are able to promote it, working in partnership with the Guardian newspaper and the Guardian TV, we will be able to ensure that more Nigerians have access to justice, because this is one major area of challenge that we face currently in the country. There's a national policy of arbitration that the federal government has just signed into law. It's a policy, it has persuasive powers, but we also believe that if the policy as it is implemented, starting with the government, we'll definitely see some changes, positive changes in the arbitration landscape. Particularly now that we have the new Arbitration and Mediation Act, that is a darling of not only Nigerians but darling of even international arbitrators and experts, because there are a lot of new provisions that even countries that have been on the forefront of arbitration are not yet at that point. But you know, it is not the laws that is as important as the people, because it is the implementation, and that is where sometimes we run into the roadblocks.
Okay, I have a few questions. I mean, I know maybe others may also have, but I'm hoping that my questions will probably cover some of their questions. First, I mean, the fact that dispute resolution, when it comes to contracts, we've seen that happen in Nigeria a lot of times, abuse of processes, and when Nigeria gets involved in foreign litigation, and when it comes to not also respecting contracts. So first, I believe if this can be addressed even from the outset when contracts have been signed, in order to prevent, issues with jurisdiction, issues with obeying the terms of the contract, that eventually leads to disputes. If you're also, making a case to ensure that arbitration, starts not just when there's a crisis, but how do you also prevent it by getting involved from the process from the beginning? That's number one. I have just like 4 questions.
Okay.
Number one. Then number two, I'll talk about Nigeria has quite a number of issues abroad. We see many of them when it comes to even within the federal government on some of these contracts signed, and they are not obeying some of those contracts or the terms of the contracts. We see that happening a lot of times, which has also led to embarrassment for the company. We saw that with the PR case, and there are several other cases like that which have not even come up. So how do we, as a nation, prevent this kind of international embarrassment, to the point that people also think that as much as we are inviting people and telling people about the ease of doing business in Nigeria, these actions contradict that position on ease of doing business. And how do we ensure that investors come into the country and also respect the laws, being fully well that these are the conditions? We could see what is even happening between Dangote and Pengas and Co. So that's even fresh. it goes beyond Nigeria because it's also an international issue because of where Dangote is positioned.
Yes.
And also how businessmen also begin to perceive the country. So that's number two. Number three, I think these two questions are actually very important for the fact that you mentioned you also working in the Northeast and the Middle Belt. I know. So I would like to understand what's your position on negotiation with bandits. Yeah, it's a very touching subject.
It is.
Like to,
it is.
Because you are working in that region, and I mean, do bandits actually repent? And how do you negotiate with them? We've seen cases now whereby bandits are coming back, states are beginning to renegotiate terms. I mean, these are typical Oliver Twist, and you always want more. And it's not just about the money, it's also about territory, it's also about the people. So where do we find the balance? It's a very tough question. Hopefully you're able to wade through that, and if you don't want to comment on it, I will understand, but I would love to hear your position as an expert in that field. Then lastly, which is also a very touchy one, is the issue of where do you draw the line between mediation, arbitration, and plea bargain?
I know that with the new regime, Chief, the Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice have begun to has taken certain positive steps to try to address this issue. And some of the steps that I know he's taken is to set up a committee to review in BTIs and also now begin to look at the kind of contracts that Nigeria signed. You know, getting the experts involved from the very beginning. And I know that he has put together a very good team of senior lawyers and arbitrators to help him in that area. So they've started on the right path. They're beginning to look at reviewing, you know, from the beginning of the contract, from the onset of drafting, because that's where the issue starts from. It's not when you already have an arbitration agreement. It's when you are drafting the contracts, what kind of arbitration agreements or dispute resolution agreements have you included in the contract? Is it watertight? Is it an arbitration agreement that takes into consideration a lot of factors on both sides, and that is not one-sided? They're doing something about it, and I know that in the next 1 year plus, we'll begin to see the dividends of what they are doing. And that is why now you don't get them signing contract easily like that. Now, before the contract is signed, it has to go to the Ministry of Justice, you know, what is in favor of the country. So that's that. And then the issue of attracting that will come up, that will fall on the other side, which will definitely cause us to raise our eyebrows. But I think that the judiciary they are on the right track, and what the judiciary needs is more encouragement from us as legal practitioners, and also from you as the media, to be able to say, okay, this is what we think they should do now. This is the areas they need to strengthen to get Nigeria to come up to speed. For instance, the P&ID matter, we all know what happened in that matter. Like you said, why that matter went south was because from the very beginning of drafting the contract, the officials representing Nigeria did not pay attention to details. They did not take into consideration the interests of the country, and they did not go further to look at, okay, now there's a suit against us, there's an arbitration matter against us, but could we have also counterclaimed against the other party, rather than just sit down and wait? Because I think where the matter went against us in the first instance was because we didn't step in at the right time. Once you have an arbitration matter and a party rise to an institute to appoint an arbitrator for you, don't sit down and wait. Appear before the arbitral tribunal and state your case. Because once you have signed an arbitral agreement, it's a finality. You cannot come out of it. You cannot unilaterally, change the terms of the agreement, because it says parties are bound by the agreement. Definitely, one party has taken steps, and is not at a disadvantage by the reason of signing onto that agreement. So it is the interest of the other party to show up. So this is one area that I think the Nigerian government didn't do well with the P&ID matter. But I know that for sure now they have begun to correct that area. So once they know there's an arbitration matter against them, the federal government definitely will put together that team to represent the government. Negotiation with bandits, so we have to look at it again critically and to ask ourselves the question, has the various interventions, has it given us the desired result? And when we talk about negotiating with bandits, are we talking about negotiating with the bandits, the ones... I think bandits should be categorized. I have that feeling they should actually be categorized. There are some...
Bandit is a mild word, and I think it's also a media creation in order to federal government, apologies, federal government propaganda to manage the situation.
Okay.
Because I think these are terrorists. Once you take out against the state, these are terrorist activities or actions. So I think that word should be banned. To the
terrorists. Okay, so
the only reason why I said that, like I said earlier, is also the fact that the abused have not received justice. They've not been fairly treated. The people who are the
victims.
Yeah, the victims. So where does justice come in when the victims are still in IDP, they have been displaced,
yes,
and yet you're having a conversation with the people that perpetrated that violence? So that's why I'm asking, since you also work within the Northeast region, what's your position on this?
Okay, so first of all, let me clarify that I'm not an expert in this area, because you did say earlier that I'm an expert. I'm not. I'm a lawyer by training and profession, okay? But given that we have worked in the Northeast, the Northwest for a while, not just in the area of peace building and conflict resolution, but particularly more in the area of alternative disorder, exploring mediation, in resolving disputes. And resolving dispute, because now, like you talked about the IDPs, we have a lot of IDPs, and then when IDPs people are displaced, they become IDPs, and then definitely there's bound to be dispute between them and the original indigenes of the states or in the area or community where they are settled. So in those regards, they needed assistance to ensure that they have access to justice. A lot of things were happening in those areas. But having said that, when we look at, I think that this issue of either bandits or terrorists is an issue that the government needs to also step back. And first of all, let's start talking about tracing the origin. Because I still feel that what we are dealing with is symptoms. What is the origin of this issue? How did it get to where it has gotten to now? Because I'm not even, the bandits that we see, or the terrorists that we see now, they're not so much of my fear or worry now. My worry now is the younger ones. The out-of-school children that they are recruiting now. That's where my worry is. And those ones are going to be more brutal, because a lot of them have lost their family members. They don't have any emotional feelings. So definitely, you know what happens. So there is a lot of issues with this insecurity in Nigeria. Let me put it like that. And then we have to look at, there's so many actors. You're talking about terrorists, but terrorists, for me, are not even the major actors. Who are the sponsors? The sponsor, they have sponsors. Who had sponsors? And if you go back, you are in the media space, you know all of this. So there's nothing new I'm going to sit here to, talk about that you do not know, you're not aware of. But all I will say is that there needs to be several approaches to dealing with this issue. Outside, the conventional way we see them approaching it now. There needs to be several approaches. And for me, the approach should start from, how do we reintegrate the out-of-school children? How do we integrate those people that are affected by the onslaught of banditry or terrorism or whatever you're talking about? How do we get them to see things differently? How do we reorientate them? Because if you don't do that, Nigeria will just be fighting this war for the next 50 years, 100 years, and it will never come to an end. So for me, we need to go back to the drawing board and look at all the critical stakeholders and the actors involved in this issue. Not just focus on one side of the bandits or the terrorists or whatever you call them, but also who are the sponsors? Because the sponsors have different layers. Where do they come in? Then who are the enablers? Because they're also enablers as well. So it's an entire complex situation that we are in. And the only thing that can get us close to trying to resolve it is for the government and for every Nigerian to be ready to take the necessary steps or decisions to find a way to resolve this issue. So the negotiating with bandits for me is not going to resolve it. For some people, It may be a good step, but I think that the issues we are dealing with is more than just negotiating. Because if you negotiate the ones you know now, new ones will spring up. So how many are you going to negotiate with? What about the young ones that are already waiting to take over? So it's a complex situation, and it needs hybrid head of intervention to be able to, step in and to a reasonable extent curtail what is going on right now.